So thanks, guys. I think all of you already have the context on the session. We have Paddy with us, who was leading the field marketing at CleverTap, and now he is the global field marketing lead at VWO. Both of the CleverTap, I know for a fact that is big on events, and hence that will add a lot of context and angle on how events on ground as well as virtual or hybrid will take place. And VWO also, because they play in two different sort of mid-market versus SMB bracket, I think we'll have a layer of like big budget but larger volume of events there. So with that context, I'll let Paddy begin the session, and I would let him introduce himself as well, because honestly, I don't know anything about field marketing. So thanks so much for coming on board with us, and thanks guys for showing up and putting in such intelligent questions there. I think the next 60 minutes would be power-packed, value-driven, value-packed session. So Paddy, it's over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Rohit, and hey everyone. Like, so excited to see you all, and yes, my face is also excited. Right. Fantastic. So as Rohit mentioned, yes, I was leading the field marketing at CleverTap and currently leading the field marketing and setting up the field marketing channel at VWO. Right. So I started my career as a events freelancer, like maybe in 2012, like during, like it all started during my college days, where I had executed and hosted like more than 500 events for various B2C brands predominantly, like Ferrari, Shell, and I was an on-ground RJ at some of the key stations like Radio Mirchi, Surin FM, and everything. Then I started my career as a marketer at Zoho's sister concern, and I was in the field marketing at Uber, then Zoho and CleverTap, and right now at VWO. Right. So throughout my career, like events is something like which I've been practicing and doing it for a very long time. So happy to be here, and I'm pretty sure like I can give some insights, some of the best practices that we can follow, be it in B2B or B2C, right? Like how we can consider the field marketing channel from the brand per se, from the demand gen per se, and from the lead gen per se. Yes.
Amazing. So with that, Paddy, the first thing that I'd want to ask, like, because you have had surprisingly very deep experience, not surprisingly, like, interestingly, very deep experience in the entire event or field marketing function in exactly in SaaS brands, in exactly its transition from being offline only to online and then now hybrid. So how do you think the entire paradigm of events changed during the past, maybe let it restricts to 5 years, where like it has been field to online to hybrid? Like how do you see that changing, that effect of that on budgeting, and maybe how do you think what would happen now and in the next couple of years?
Sure. So first of all, right, like be it 5 years or 10 years ago, right, like in the first 10 years, if you see, right, like maybe from 10 years ago, it was more on brand perspective, right? Like events, like brands that are well established and they want to improve their branding. That's when the trade shows kind of conferences comes into the picture, right? Especially like 5 years ago and all, I could see like when I was with Zoho, right? Whenever we go for events, basically, it is purely for branding, and we cannot literally measure the conversions happening. What is the outcome of each and every event? So we go to an event, we enjoy, we see all the countries, we have a very good experience, and we come back. All right. But slowly, you know, like field marketing turning out to be one of the powerful demand generation channel. So having said that it's going to be a demand generation channel, what are all the outcomes of the event? That turned out to be the key question. So when we talk about the outcomes, right, that's when the deliverable comes into the picture, right? So it is no more like taking a huge space of, you know, like 60 square meter or 100 square meter, like a huge space with different gamifications happening within the booth, or decorating the booth or anything, right? Those are all still happening, but with large enterprise level brands used to do that, because for them, the brand image is the most important. But when it comes to brands like CleverTap, VWO, or anyone, right, like Moving Edge, right, when we go for events, right, we need to literally know what is the outcome of the event. That is how it is structured. Now, answering your question of, like being a physical event to virtual to hybrid, right? It varies according to region to region. For example, if you go to country like, especially like India and Indonesia or some of the Southeast Asian countries, right? If they say it is a virtual event, for a fact that it is not going to yield you any results, to be very honest, right? Like, you're going to be there, you will get a lot of students, a lot of agency leads coming in, especially people who are serving the marketing side of the product, right? I'm being very honest with you. Like, even if you go to MMA, like, which is considered to be the premium brand and for running events for the marketing folks, right? I'm pretty sure if you had run events with them, you would have definitely experienced 60-70% agency leads and remaining 25% student leads. Then what happens to the last 5%, right? Barely you will get leads that is, catering to your ICP, right? That's when the seriousness is happening, considering the one-to-one meetings, right? You be upfront with any agencies. You get me one-to-one meetings, like I'm ready to invest you like $10,000 in you, right? You give me 10 one-to-one meetings. That's what matters to me, right? If that is not happening, I am not participating in your event, because demand generation is also not there, right? In the last 1 year or 6 months, I would say, even like last 1 year, even at CleverTap, it turned out to be a lead generation, right? Paddy, we have like 40,000 leads in our database, right? We barely care about the 1,000 leads or 1,500 leads that you are bringing into the system, right? Exactly. How many of them are ICP? How many of them are interested in our product? That's what matters. Otherwise, we cannot keep on investing on these kind of events, right? Yeah. So when it comes to the virtual event, this was a big question, right? Should we go for this event or not? So we waited for a long term. That's when we decided to do the digital demand generation. So honestly speaking, I'm not up for virtual event unless or until it is a networking event. Let me tell you some of the best virtual events that every brand should consider. E-tail Connect event. Like, if you go to WB Research, they have two different formats of event. One is the E-tail Connect, another one is E-tail West. Like, basically, the Connect events are purely meant for one-on-one networking, right? Where they will have only 75 to 100 people. You decide, like, they run through their budgets, the tech stacks and everything, what's the priority and stuff, right? Then you can easily go through what's the priority. If they are meeting your product requirement, obviously you can request the organizers to schedule one-on-one meeting with them, which will be a 30 minutes, 40 minutes meeting. That is totally worth it. Like, you can spend $15,000 to $20,000 on these kind of events. Similarly, GDS is there. Similarly, Quads events is there. MAU Connect event is there. So these kind of events promises you some one-on-one meetings, right? Slowly, all the brands started understanding the one-on-one meeting when it comes to the virtual event. So the brands who were offering the one-on-one meetings, right, those were really successful. Now, coming to the hybrid, like, been to a couple of hybrid events as well, right? Hybrid is nothing. Again, the advantage coming into the picture only when it is a one-on-one meeting is there, especially in these things. But thanks to pandemic, serious changes are happening in the event industry. These days, even physical events, like, I know like brands like s11s and other organizers, right, who doesn't do any one-on-one meetings in the past. But because of the virtual to hybrid to again going back to physical, right, people started considering that as one of the deliverable where we have to pay like additional money. That's worth it, like $500 or 500 pounds for a meeting, but you will definitely get a meeting, right? So this is the change that I'm seeing, that in the last 10 years, field marketing evolving from brand to demand to lead generation at the moment.
So in the physical meeting world, you would be basically hustling around and fixing meetings for yourself, and hence it wouldn't really matter if the organizers will create that space for physical meetings or not. You will anyways create your own one-on-one meetings.
Correct. Let me tell you some of the best practices to follow with respect to creating these one-on-one meetings. Okay. Every event organizers come up with a mobile application, which has been developed by some student as an internship program. Right? Honestly speaking, see, if you've been in field marketing and you schedule some meetings in any of these stuffs, right? It's very tough to get secure some meetings basically through the app, right? The ideal practices is working very closely with your outbound team, SDR team, and sales team, right? And the key thing is, not many organizers would agree to do it. This is what you need to be very careful when you interact with organizers. Before getting the contract, you have to make a point that you need the RSVP, at least the job ID, the job title, and the company name well in advance, Okay, at least like 4 weeks in advance or 3 weeks in advance.
Hmm.
The moment you get it, use your market research, sales ops, or any team, right, to identify who are all the contacts. Then you reach out to these contacts saying, hey guys, if we are coming here, we would love to meet you, right? That way you secure a meeting. Let me give you a success story. Very recently, we ran an event in Singapore, right? And the similar fashion, we got the RSVPs well in advance. You won't believe, prior to the event, we ran a very quick networking dinner. Like it's just like I booked a hotel, like one of the decent hotels in Singapore, which is very near to the event location. And I asked the folks to come and meet us at the location for a dinner, right? And we had like, I'll be very honest with you, we had 4 people attending the dinner for us from the event, right? From nothing, it's just 4. But out of these 4, 2 agreed to go for a demo with our product, and currently they are on the contractual side, right? I'm pretty sure in the next 6 months we will definitely close them, and these 2 are like really huge names.
Yeah.
It's not something like, if we close these 2, we will definitely get easily 200 to 300K, right? See, that is the kind of outcome you will see, right? And again, answering your question, right? 6 years ago, if I go for an event, like I go for an event, I attend the event for 2 days. The next 4 days, I plan something like a weekend. I enjoy the city, and then I come back, right? There is a huge cost involved in this, like travel cost, stay cost, and everything. But how do you make sure and convince the management is a different gameplay, which I will be addressing down the line?
Yeah. Nice. Dude, that there is so much of things to note down in just that one answer that I'll have to rewatch this entire section again.
I'll probably, to make it very simple, right? The key takeaways is securing the meetings, leverage your outbound and SDR, secure the meetings well in advance, speak to the organizer, get the RSVP. They won't share the names because of the GDPR policy, but they will definitely share the job title and the organization name. That is more than sufficient for you.
This is what I meant, right? Like until you have done it, you would not know what they'll share and whatnot. So thanks for answering that in that level of detail. That's what we aspire at the deep dive sessions. Okay, so thanks so much, dude. I think another very big question, and maybe we'll spend like 3-4 minutes on this, is when you are a small company. For example, right now at Kula we are like seed funded, right? And somewhere like I don't even know if I like, how do you think, because there's no like matured company, let us call that like 10 million ARR plus, like how CleverTap and everybody else. So I think it would be a very generalistic answer where like not all seed companies are at the same level, and not all 10 million ARR companies are at the same level. But how do you think about events at these 2 stages, as at very early stage and then at very matured stage? What is your framework to think about this?
Sure, Rohit. Sure. Before addressing, there is one important question here. Someone is asking, like, how about the previous year RSVP? Okay. Just a quick tip. This is very, very helpful for you to convince the management. So before even you initiate a conversation with any event organizers, right, you will be sending an introductory email that you are managing and you want to know about the details, right? Please write it in the very first line with bold lines that I need previous RSVP. Put a Y mark. Why? Because this will help me understanding what percentage of your RSVP comprising my ICP, right? Yeah. You may charge $100,000 to Salesforce because for them 100% are their ICP, right? But for a CleverTap or VW, right, barely like 50% or 65% only meet the criteria. So I cannot definitely invest 100,000 on the event. I have to justify. So getting the RSVP previous year should be done in your first conversation.
Got it.
Okay. Now, and addressing your question, Rohit, right? Let's talk about the pre-seed. Okay. See, honestly speaking, not many companies like with just like 1 million ARR and all, they are not 100% ready for the events. All right. Because the management has to have a clear mindset about the events. Like what happens, right? Be it CleverTap or VW or anything, right? We go for an event, let's say like a Shop Talk or MAU Vegas or Money 2020 or any big event, right? We go there. But we need to make sure that, like, let's say we invest about $25,000-$30,000 for these kind of events. I'm talking about the mature company, right? At the mid stage, like 10 million to 45 million or 60 million ARR, right? We go there and we invest $30,000. Our objective here is lead generation. How we can secure as many meetings as possible, how we can help the regional directors in building their pipeline and converting some revenue. That is what our objective, right? But when the leadership team comes, they tend to see the whole event trade show expo, where you will see a Dell or Cisco or Facebook, Meta or someone who will be taking like a very large space, near like 7 times or 8 times than our space. Then they will have this question. Look at them, how they are doing this event, how we are doing this event, right? So 100% we cannot match. Their investment is 150K. Our investment is 30K, right? So first we need to set the expectations on the management. So I don't definitely blame management, because they need to be aware of what are our expectation and why are we doing this, right? Now, say having said that, right? If it is going to be a 1 million ARR company or anything less than that, right? How events has to be for them. This is more of a virtual and co-marketing activities and very limited activities, maybe like country like India and certain parts of Indonesia, these kind of countries will work for them because this will fall right within their budget. Okay. Now, in a quarter, they should be ready to spend at least like 100 to 150K, considering only one market, not all the market. If they are ready to spend
150K just on events.
it's again, I'm saying it's just not on events. It has to be on the whole field marketing perspective. Okay. Now let me tell you what are all the field marketing perspective. It's not just events. It's not just trade shows. Trade shows is one of the channels, right? Apart from trade shows, there is something called CXO level focused networking lunch and dinner. There are many CXO management companies, by the way, who can execute these for us. Okay. Then the third is the co-branding, co-marketing events. Like at Clevertap, during pandemic, we built this property called Reimagine Growth. Okay. Pandemic happened, like we lost the whole team. Like I was only one person over there. We need to still bring in the leads. Immediately what we did, our ICP is growth marketers. Similarly, Adjust, Branch, these kind of brands also have AppTweak, Google, for them also growth marketers, right? So we collaborated with 3 other brands and we promoted this activity among our target audience and so the other 3 brands as well. And we didn't talk about only retention. We had a curated masterclass from acquisition to retention to ASO to OEM partnerships to everything, right? It's a 360-degree growth marketing channel. As a result, end users got a lot to learn about each and every tech stack. And we got at least like 1,500 leads for each campaign. All these 1,500, if you see 90% are ICP and they are also with corporate email ID and we are sorted with respect to that. This is it's a very organic effort. You will be spending max to max 2 to 3K on this particular event. Not more than that, right? But you still get your lead system, MQLs sorted. Okay. This is another channel I'm trying to tell you. Then you can run physical workshops, physical master classes. These are all different channels. So it's not just events. So you have to first come up with a series of campaigns, basically. If you have a campaign, then your events will not look like a spray and pray methodology. It will come up with a unique message, unique campaign, right? Let's say if the GTM for APAC is targeting e-commerce companies for this quarter, right? Then you need to identify e-commerce based industries. Then you need to run, see, for example, you are traveling from India to Singapore, okay? For just one event doesn't make sense. Then immediately you have to run a CXO networking lunch. How do we execute this? You work with your sales team. You work with your research team, you work with your sales ops, identify their TAM and identify what are all their priority companies. Kindly avoid all the accounts that are about to close. Already opportunities, you leave them. Existing customers, you leave them. Opportunities that you lost in the last 6 months, you leave them. They are not going to come back to you immediately, right? Identify other companies, like use a lot of tech stacks. Today you can easily find out when is the contract with your competitor is ending, right? Identify such companies and invite them to be a part of your networking lunch. Then have a topic which helps you to understand. For example, at Clevertap, right? If you see all the topics that we have, it helps our salespeople to understand how they are practicing retention in their organization. Why this has to happen? Because in that particular networking lunch event, we have 3 people from my sales team and 1 person will be there from the marketing team. All these 3 people divides the accounts. Let's say 10 people are attending. So each and every salesperson will take a responsibility of 3 accounts. They need note down what are all the points discussing by their decision makers from their prospecting companies. Okay. And then they network with them over a lunch in the same event. It happens. The discussion happens for 1 hour with an industry moderator, like a boardroom setup. Then the sales team will follow up with them. And from there, all the communication that goes to them will be in a personalized manner. right?
Correct.
So what happens when they travel to an industry event? They attend this networking. Here they are meeting 10 people. So 10 meetings already sorted for you. Out of these 10 meetings, plus securing another 5-6 meetings from the industry event, let's say out of 15-16 meetings, if you convert one, your investment will be recovered. That's it. This is the simple math. So that is what I'm saying. For a pre-seed company, you need to play with at least like 100 to 150K just in one area, not every, like maybe in India or APAC region, just say spend some 100 to 150K. All right.
So,
and concentrate more on these kind of events. Now
so
you
at
come.
the seed stage, US shouldn't be even in the strategy given the budgets that we have.
Yes, US is very expensive. You cannot even match it. See, it involves a lot of cost, right? There are quality events. If you go for a quality event in US, it is very expensive. So pre-seed me, it is very tough for you to go to US if you are handling an event. Okay. Maybe like once you come to a little mature stage, like Cleveta, PW and all, like let's say 10 million or 15 million or 20 million ARR, right? These companies will comfortably spend at least like 250K to 300K in a quarter, right? So when you spend 250K to 300K in a quarter, then you can definitely cover two regions, US and APAC, or US and Europe, or maybe US, Europe and APAC, all these regions, right? The strategy is very similar. Do 2 industry events and 3 to 4 networking lunch, networking dinner events, right? And then a global masterclass, like a virtual platform, like you own that. You don't give it to anyone. You own that. Here, how to drive registration? As I mentioned, partner with multiple brands.
Of course.
That is very easy.
Registration demand is another playbook.
Yes, use agencies to drive these things. These are all the initial steps. Then once you go further mature, right? Like, yes, I have been successfully doing this. Now, after 6 to 8 months, after 2 to 3 quarters, you clearly understand whether your networking lunch, dinner are contributing to your program. Then how to scale it up. That's when a lot of agencies come into the picture.
Got it. I think you have sort of already answered this, but maybe formalizing that framework is, how do you evaluate if you want to attend the event or not?
Absolutely. So evaluation, right? See, first of all, I would like to share one thing very clearly. Maybe let me put it in the chat so that it is very easy for everyone. Key stakeholders is very, very important. First of all, we need to have a clarity on the key stakeholders. Like from a field marketing team, with how many team members you need to work with. Please look into the chat. I just put it. It starts with sales, regional marketing, product marketing, design, finance and legal, market research team or sales op team, then customer marketing, if required, leadership team, admin, digital marketing, online marketing and social marketing team, email marketing and marketing operation team, SDR, inside sales and outbound team. So if you are a field marketer, first we need to market ourselves better in the organization. As simple as that. Self-marketing is most important. Otherwise, what happened, right? You run an event, some man will come and put it in a company chat. Why are we not doing these events? I don't know about anything about our events. I have no idea what. See, honestly speaking, Cleveta was like 250, 300 employee organization, right? In spite of having multiple channels for events and everything, still there are 1 or 2, like I have no idea about what events.
General only.
Exactly. Right? See, what I'm trying to say is addressing your question. What are all the things you need to consider before, right? You need to involve the regional marketing team and sales and if possible outbound team into the picture. Okay. They need to recommend you the key events happening in their region. By this, you are already rejecting their complaint saying, why are we not attending this event? Okay.
Got it. Yeah.
Right? But do you think what kind of research? It will be really good when you do this research. So that doesn't mean like you should avoid, like when they have only they have to do. You have to work in parallel. 2 things that we need to consider. One is the ICP criteria. Under the ICP, business persona. Like who are all my job titles? Which kind of profiles are we targeting? Right? So take the business persona and identify industry events based on the business persona. That is the first step.
Yeah.
Second step is industry. Which industry are we servicing? Like Clevertap, the business persona are marketing, growth marketing and growth marketing leaders, right? Yeah. So under business persona, you have multiple levels. One level is the decision maker level. And one level is the kind of players who evaluates and then pass it on to the next level. And the third level is the people who actually sit and work on these events, right? Your deliverables changes according to each and every event. Like if it's going to be with your L3, people who are actually working your product, right? There you have to make sure you are owning a workshop, not a panel discussion, owning a workshop. If decision makers are attending the event, there you need to make sure you are securing a one-on-one meeting as a part of your deliverable. If the level 2 people who going to evaluate your product demo kind of thing, right? There you need to own a demo session within this workshop or a panel discussion within the workshop or a boardroom meeting within the event. So that is how your deliverable also change, right? Now, addressing the evaluation, right? So once you identify the event, the common like best practices, getting the previous RSVP, that is the most important thing. Then going through speaker details and everything is the basic thing that we anyway do. Okay, but once you get the RSVP, how do you present this to the management? You have 3 questions. One is, what are
RSVP will come in very late, right, Paddy?
Which one?
RSVP will come in very late. Last year RSVP you're talking about or the present
Last year RSVP. Last year RSVP.
Okay. Yeah. Then
previous RSVP will give you some idea. See, event organizers are very smart. What do? Is they put a graph and say CXOs and these people. CXO doesn't matter, right? Like, what if, like, see, why if CFO coming and attending event is just going to be an influencer? He's not a decision maker for me, right? So we need to be very specific. Then they say, Paddy, we don't share RSVP because of GDPR. That's fine. You don't have to share. Can you share the job titles and organization?
Yes,
right? They have to do it if they need it.
Yeah.
For this, you have to make sure you are approaching the event at least like 3 quarters or 4 quarters in advance. If we are going to approach an event that is happening in the next month or after 2 months, right? They are the boss here. You just have to obey whatever they are saying. So we need to plan our event at least like 6-7 quarters in advance so that it is making more sense. Okay. Now, previous RSVP, as I said, then when you are presenting to the management, right? This is what you need to put a charter, clear charter. Okay. Don't go for event by event. As I mentioned, put a quarterly plan saying how many events you're going to attend, how many networking lunch you're going to attend, what is your overall investment looking like, what is your overall deliverable looking like. So when it comes to the deliverable, commit on the leads, MQLs, quality one-to-one meeting. So 2 different types of, one is a simple meeting, right? The first meeting is a simple meeting. And the second meeting is the demo meeting. These are the 2 different type of meeting, right? How many meetings are you committing? And what is the expectation, hypothesis? And out of these demo meetings, what is the pipeline that you're going to build? As simple as that, right? So for that, you need to know all the ACV and everything. Accordingly, you can give the hypothesis and present it to the manager. Once that is done, you say, hey boss, like this is the event that is helping me in order to meet my quarterly target, right? This is the e-commerce event. We are seeing like these are all the kind of RSVPs attending the event. And I could clearly see that some of our competitors say, see, if more than 2 to 3 competitors of you are presenting over there, right? Some management say, don't go there. We will get lost. Some management advise you to spend more than what they are spending so that we will be on the top. See, all these things and all, right? It is our perception like, oh, this is the expensive brand, then we should go to them and all. At the end of the day, they're going to see how your product is servicing them. Are they understanding your product? As simple as that, right? When 2 or 3 of your competitors are there, you make sure you have additional people over there. So you have to appoint one person just to spy who are all going to your competitors' booth. As simple as that. We have done that in the past. Okay. So he will spy who are all going there. And all he has to do is just pass on the message so that the sales team will go and introduce himself saying, we are from so-and-so company. Would you be interested? Obviously, they will be coming to your booth. Right? These are all some of the things which many brands doesn't do, but it is very healthy way to do it. Like have additional manpower when you go to an event where your competitive presence is more. All right. So this is how you evaluate an event in the beginning.
So given by your answer, I would assume that going for horizontal events, something like a SaaStr or a SaaStr, doesn't make a lot of sense until you have like extra money lying around for branding efforts only.
Correct. See, when you go to a larger events, right? Like when you go to a trade show, right? That's when the challenge comes. But recently, I could see trade shows are also coming up with the one-on-one meetings packages. Try to secure that. Let me give you one example. ShopTalk is a trade show. Okay. But ShopTalk delivers 10 meetings, 20 meetings, 30 meetings, and 40 meetings package, right? Take that meetings package and go with a simple booth. And then take these 20 meetings and you go and hunt for additional meetings. That is how it works. If there is no meetings, right? Some organizations don't, like say upfront that we don't have meetings. Like for example, IRX, which is a huge event, OMR Festival, which is a huge event in Europe for digital marketing and SaaS marketing folks, right? They don't have meetings package. Here, what you can do on an alternate base that, okay, I am ready to invest $25,000. Can you please arrange a boardroom kind of a session for me, a 1 hour networking lunch session? We will own everything. You give me the RSVP, we will highlight which accounts, we will give you 25 accounts. Out of these 25, you onboard 10 people to be a speaker, and we will have an industry or we will moderate this session in a thought leadership per se, not sales, right? Then again, you are indirectly securing 10 meetings because you will have those 10 people within your room over a lunch and network with them and discuss a lot. But if this is not there, going to a larger event doesn't make any sense to you because you won't get the RSVP list. You will just scan the details, people who are coming to your booth. Again, you will think what are all the ways to drive people to your booth. You will think fancy gifts, barcode scanner and everything. But those will not be your ICP. That is the problem. So if you want ICP player, then you need to be very careful with report. Maybe booth location matters a lot here. So you get the floor plan, find out people, not your competitor, but people like from the same industry targeting similar target audience. Maybe you take a booth next to them. That may help you to a level.
Got it. Interesting. Okay. So I think again, the next question you have sort of answered, but I'll put it out to differentiate is, when do you decide when you want to, like from a overall strategy perspective, so for the quarter if you're doing, or for the year if you're doing, so these are particular events that I want to attend, and that mental model you already explained, like how do you create that list and how do you evaluate that. But if we want to sort of have our own event, like how CD did mixers and in multiple cities, and then you have like a one flagship event or something like that. So when is the time to start doing that, and how do you decide and how do you place it strategically so that it works out in terms of your targets?
See, running our own events, that happens only when you have a huge customer base, all right, or huge brand presence over there. It invariably helps you to create an impression among your target audience that it's a kind of a brand, right? When someone think about retention, the first thing should come to their mind is CleverTap. That is what the objective behind these kind of events, right? So having said that, it will take a long time. We should not do it immediately. Like Zoho started Zoholics after a very long time, not immediately, right? So there are 3 stages here. So I told you about the CXO event, right? That is the best way to create a brand impression, right? So first you put your audience in 3 segments, run 3 different type of event. Okay. The first event is targeting only the leadership team, CXO team. Invite 12 to 15 CXOs so that 10 attend your event. Okay. Make sure all these 10 are new accounts, and you invite 1 or 2 of your existing customers who are very happy from that region. Okay. Yeah. And then you go invite 1 or 2 partners from the region, and then you also go attend the event. So when you do these kind of events, let's say you do 10 events in a quarter, right? You are ultimately covering 100. See, your TAM will be like 5,000 to 7,000 companies, depends on your product. So in a quarter, you are ultimately covering 100 companies easily if you run 10. On the other hand, what is there for the L2s and L3s, the next level of people, right? Run a physical workshop for them. Okay, this involves a lot of support. Like you invite 30 people here for this event, okay, and provide them the lunch and run a 90 minutes to 2-hour session, right? You pick one industry case study, give them access to your platform, ask them to solve it, and then you help them how to solve this and everything, right? So when you invite 30 people and when you run like 7 to 8, like a 5 to 7 masterclass in a quarter like this, right? That's going to give you another impression among 200, 300 unique companies, right? So you keep on doing like this, then this will gives them an impression. Now everyone will be aware. So by the time you reach X number of customers, you define, okay, I have like X number of customers and X number of partners, like Y number of partners from this region, right? Then you slowly start an event, a larger event for your customers, like to be a part of it. Okay. And invite your partners. and then invite your customers and invite new prospects. Like that, you can ask your outbound team, like to invite people who are there in the region and invite them to be a part of this event. That's when it starts. Like it will take more time, not immediately. It is not advisable because it's a huge cost. And once you are successful doing this, slowly you convince your partner to set up a booth in your own event. That's what the last stage at Zoho we did, right? You convince your partner. When will a partner be convinced? A partner who is selling multiple products, not your competitor, like of course multiple products. And if other companies are coming, they would be happy to pay you like 1 or 2 lakhs and set up a booth to establish their presence within your event, right? That's how it happens. So it cannot happen immediately. You need to definitely do at least like 25 million and above to start with the second level, like no involvement of partner booth at all. The second level, like a mixer kind of event. And once you do like 50 million and 100 million and above, right, like become a unicorn, then you can do your own event.
So none of the companies in India, essentially the SaaS companies that we work for, are qualified to host their own events. Like we should be in our limits.
See, it depends, right? See, for example, if you ask someone like MoEngage who is established right now, like I could see like yesterday they onboarded their 100th customer in Indonesia, right? They can definitely do a MoEngage kind of event in Indonesia because they already have 100 customer in that base, right? They can invite a lot of customers.
ARR is not a measure of that stage. It's mostly like, do you have the critical?
It's a mix of both, but you definitely need a larger customer presence in the region to run an event for you. Then only you will have the expected footfall over there. Right? You can have multiple sessions and everything. You can run your own events over there.
Okay. But you can also punch above your weight, right? So for example, if you have enough contacts and enough, what do you say? So some people know you sort of, like for example, how Anand was at CleverTap and, or how WebEngage does it with Avlesh at the helm of it. So he already knows the CTO of GoIBibo and like Variku and everybody are his friends. So even at that stage, if you think about events or how WebEngage does engagement, they are nowhere near the ARR stages of VW or CleverTap. But I think that perception building of creating that authority into that space, not even without having enough customer critical mass or not even with enough ARR in their bank, they are sort of able to create that authority using the event strategy. So do you think that is also an alternative way of creating authority early on by over investing in events from the early days?
See, what I'm trying to understand is, okay, so you're saying like running something like Nexus or our own brand events, inviting large people to be a part of the event, right?
Yeah. Sort of creating that larger than what you are picture, right?
Correct. See, ultimately you will have like a good thought leadership session, maybe like very good panel session and speaking session will be there, right? But who will endorse you over there? Who will voice for the brand? Existing customers only will voice for the brand, right? That's when people will look into the product more and more, right? You invite any industry leader, they will not come and endorse our brand. They will come, talk, and they will leave the session, right? See, honestly speaking, our objective here, right, when we are at that ARR, our objective here is end of the day, what is the revenue, what is the pipeline we built out of this particular activity, what is the revenue we generated out of this particular activity, right? Like Microsoft is doing. But honestly speaking, Microsoft is definitely not looking forward to how many revenue they generated of this particular event. Slack is doing, right? Slack is definitely not looking. They all have different objective. Like if Zoho is doing, Zoho has close to 47 products for running that kind of event. So it makes more sense because they invite their customers and they see a lot of cross-selling within such event, right? Today, I'm inviting my customer who is using Zoho CRM, right? If he is attending my Zoho Inspire partner event or Zoholics, which is a customer event, Zoho Pure event, right? He will get to understand how Zoho project works. Then there is a cross-selling opportunity for them, right? If we gonna do, like, let's say CleverTap is doing it, right? Some people may use analytics. The other customer may use the engagement part of it, right? They get to experience it. That is possible. But a brand which is selling only one product, there is no add-ons or anything, right? It doesn't make sense for them to do it at a very early stage, is what my understanding.
Okay. Last 15 minutes on the clock for the first 60-minute stage. So in this 15 minutes, we'll be sort of discussing what to do when you are at the event and what is the post-event playbook so that we cover the entire piece. Till now we have discussed how do you evaluate, how do you sort of sell it to the stakeholders and how do you prepare for attending the event.
Correct.
So when it comes to being like on the D-Day on the event, what are those best practices, both in terms of, I think virtual events you are not a great fan of, I figured that.
Yes.
So in physical events, how do you run that playbook? Like who are the people that you align with? How do you exactly make it a success? Like,
Sure.
because I think there are too many details that goes on ground. So
Sure.
double click on
Sure.
that.
Sure. So let's try to understand from step by step, pre-event onwards, right? We identify the event well in advance and everything, right? So at least like 45 days in advance, okay, you have to plan for that event. So when I say plan for the event, let's take one event and try to understand. Can someone drop me an event name here? Like we will pick that event and let's see how to work towards that event.
Yeah. HRTech Summit, Las Vegas.
HRTech Summit Las Vegas. Fantastic. Now that let's say the event is happening in August, okay, how we need to plan. First step, get their RSVP. So work very closely with the team, get their RSVP and try to understand and try to build a contact list and try to invite these people or use their application mobile app, find out the contact, reach out to those people over LinkedIn and reach out to these people over email and ensure that you are coming, like let them know that you are coming there and see if they are interested in meeting you. So if you're going to ask them to meet you at your booth, right? Chances is like 40% or 30%. They say yes, because a lot of other people also going to ask them to meet them at their booth. Correct? The different way, what you can do is you organize a dinner either previous day or on the date of event, right? Say, hey, we are having a dinner. Why don't you come and join us? If that person is coming there for Las Vegas, you need to anyway have a dinner, right? You sponsor his dinner. It's going to cost you some $50 to $100, right? You sponsor his drink and dinner and ask him to come and meet you for a dinner. He will definitely come. Okay, this is one way. All right. Then the next way is this is like something which outbound team needs to work. So field marketing guys work very closely with outbound because sales won't do this. They have like a lot of other things on their plate. But outbound team will definitely do this for you. Please do this. Okay. Now, apart from that, you're going to this region, identify with your inbound, outbound, and sales team, identify how many target accounts are there. All right. And I invite all those people, to come and meet you for that dinner or speak to the organizers, get some additional passes. Like this year, it is very tough. The reason is last 2 years, no physical event happened. So whatever contracts they got like in 2019, they are all holding on to this year. Next year onwards, people may think about it. So you will definitely get some additional passes, right?
Yeah.
So you run some campaign and tell your users that if you want to win, be a part of this event, attend the event and see what industry leaders are speaking, respond to us, we will give you the passes. So that way what happens, whomsoever were cold, right, like with your outbound team, they will turn out to be warm because they are responding to their email and coming and meeting you at the event or any of the dinner format. So in a way, you will have more meetings sorted over there. Okay, this is the second step that you can do pre-event. Okay, apart from the pre-event, your basic activities like setting up the booth, what kind of booth you want, go as simple as possible. Like no one cares like what is the expensive booth we're gonna do or what is the iPad. Like, see, honestly, I'm speaking like everyone say, but I have seen like how Sridhar Vembu react like when we say Sridhar, we're gonna give a iPad campaign or we're gonna give I don't need such customer also for me, as simple as that. If he's going to take an iPad and coming to me as a customer, I don't need that customer. That's what he says, right? So we don't have to do all these show-offs, right? So do all the collaterals and stuff. Work very closely with your product team, marketing team.
Your boot design should be like clean and professional, but not really over the top where you don't really have to stand out.
You don't have to spend a lot. We don't have to spend a lot. Establish very good networking, vendor networking in your respective region. That will really help you. See, for example, for the US, right? For one of the events, I got a booth backdrop at $400. Normally, if you go online also, it costs you $1,200. But here I got for 400. Honestly, I cannot reveal the name. He will kill me. Like he cannot give for $400 for everyone. But I'm requesting you to establish such networking with the regional vendors so that you can go to them, rely on them repeatedly and get this. Okay. But anyway, booth collaterals, work very closely with product team and try to have a battle call. Honestly, most of the people who are coming to the event, right, they will ask you how, like 2 questions, very common questions, right? Showcase some case studies relevant to the industry. Second is how you are different from brand Y, how you are different from brand, is it right? So the competitive battle card. So keep that handy. That would be really helpful. And a demo video.
Battle cards in terms of printed battle cards to give away?
Not necessarily, but for yourself. That is something like only product marketing team knows better, right?
Because
So
we cannot give away battle cards, right?
yeah,
Like
you
it
cannot give away.
would
But
get
for
into
you to
legal
be handy and showcase it to the people who are coming to your booth, obviously you won't be giving it, right? So that is something like you have to do. These are all some of the things that people miss out to do, right? Then swags and other elements pre-event, right? Then travel, accommodation, and all other arrangements, basic things, everything that you'll be covering. The
So
one
while on the booth, I'm sure like the pre-event booking and all of that playbook works. But while on the booth, how do you maximize the meeting booking like agenda? So maybe if you can spend like 30 seconds on that, what have you seen anything that has worked for you or the team that you have trained in the past that this shit works rather than just like hustling around? If you focus on these 2-3 things, you book more meetings.
So while on the booth, right? So that is what like people who come to your booth are definitely a good lead. Like, but seeing your brand, not for any other swags. The only basic thing, if you think you can do, is maybe you can have a refreshment stuffs like something like a coffee bar or something within your booth, so that people can grab a coffee and that. But it is mostly the effectiveness of your sales team. So you need to work very closely with the sales team. Identify as a salesperson who enjoys in getting more incentives. They will definitely bring more traffic to your booth, right? It is a sales team who's going to do this, right? You have to work very closely with your sales team. You need to party a lot with your sales team. Identify those sales teams. Say, I know like my in fact sales team is like super smart sales team, right? They will be super happy to be at booth and drive as many people as possible, right? Apart from that, I've seen like I have done gamifications in the booth. I got so many leads, but none of them are my ICP. I have done like QR code scanners, iPad campaigns in the past. I got really good number of leads, but like sadly
Those airport giveaways don't work basically.
yeah, so maybe something like giveaways is good to put your image, like try to use eco-friendly giveaways, like that is becoming like plantable calendars, plantable cards. These kind of things are really appreciated by the people. But at booth, this is what you need to do. You have to be very active on the app. You need to be very active seeing other booths, like what kind of people are coming there. So follow him, share your cards, invite him to come to your event. That is how it works. Otherwise, like the general traffic. But post-event, you have to do something
Absolutely,
different.
I was coming to that. So
Correct.
what's the post-event playbook?
Okay, see, post-event, one is like getting the leads will obviously take 4-5 days in the current trend. Not many of the organizers do share the leads within 24 hours. It is just only our boss demand is to get all the leads by 24 hours. But that doesn't work really because they will have so many sponsors in the rig, right? It's okay, you get it even after 48 hours, right? It is not about sending a thank you email or something on the very next day. Not going to create. What is the brand impressions that you're going to create after 3 months, after 4 months at least, right? That's when you need to work very closely with your online marketing team, right? You get all these leads, sit with your online marketing team and see how you can run some display advertisement campaigns to the people who were. That messaging has to relate it to the events that they attended, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is not something like not many people are doing at the moment. There are many challenges with this, right? One is sitting and connecting with an online marketing team is a super challenging thing. Then comes to the budget, right? Whose budget is this? Why would I spend this budget over here? What is the CTA for this, right? These kind of things. But if you have a single marketing organization, only one boss, and if you convince that one man, then this is sorted. But this will be really helpful, that you need to create a repetitive impressions among the people who visited you at the booth. Create 2-3 different kind of message. Identify people who visited at your booth. Identify people who met you for one-on-one networking. Identify people who attended your workshop or a masterclass or a thought leadership session or any panel discussion. And the display campaign that's going to follow, right? It has to relate it to that, right? That is something that you can do. Then work on a proper email marketing nurture campaigns, right? So ideally the nurture campaign should contain one of the campaigns, like one is thank you for attending and introduce your brand, how it is solving. Then involve 2-3 relevant case studies for them. So identify the industry they belong to and send the relevant case studies for them. That is very important. Then send some benchmark report, which would be really appreciated by them to understand where they are standing and stuff. Then again, like you have like really good assets, like how to use
This playbook that you are basically explaining, the case studies and content assets and all of these will be for the top of the funnel leads who are not like really interested, but you collected those leads, so you have to nurture them and convert them into a demo.
Correct.
For the meetings that you have done, that goes directly to the sales guys. You don't have to.
It has to go directly to the sales guys. And here is where you need to work very closely with the regional marketing heads, because I could see this pattern, right? Most of the companies are having one regional marketer who is responsible for the entire region, right? Work with him, or you work very closely with the outbound team. So give a period of 15 days to 25 days, not more than that. Okay. So first 15 days, you do a different multi-touch reach outs. Okay. One is via LinkedIn. Like a meeting is happened, right? Naturally, you should be connected with him on LinkedIn, and you should have his contact number, and you should have his email ID. All three will be there definitely, right? Do a multi reach out and see, be a friend, right? You don't have to, like touch your nose this way. Be a friend. Are you interested in a demo or not? Whomsoever is saying yes, that will go further. Whomsoever is saying no, that has to be tagged as a lead or a marketing qualified lead, and it has to reassign to the email marketing team, and that has to be nurtured down the line. It should not be staying with sales.
Isn't it borderline spamming? Like when I already told you that I'm not interested, it's like, I'm really curious that does that playbook work? Like, for example, I told you that, okay, dude, you have my email ID, but I'm not interested. And you're still sending me emails. Is it really accepted by the customers as a okay practice?
See, there are two ways to see this, right? You don't have to send an immediate nurture campaign, since he said it. But he is always eligible to become your prospect in future, right? After 6 months or after 8 months. So he can be in the marketing email system. There is no harm in doing that, right? See, at CleverTap or other organizations I've seen, right? Once a person says no to sales team, right? It will be still there in the SQL, right? Whenever marketing team sends an email, it won't go to them. But there is no harm. And after 6 months, you run a master class, you can still send him an email and ask him to be a part of your master class.
Yes, yeah. That I understand.
It has to be remarked as MQL and assigned back to the marketing team, so that they will have the control over the lead down the line.
Got it. Yeah, that I agree with. By the way, the question was, Paddy, that running events as an ABM strategy has picked up in the past couple of years.
Yes.
So do you have experience there, and what are the key points that we can utilize from your experience?
Absolutely. Okay. See, there is a huge battle, right? Who should own the ABM? It should be with the field marketing or an online marketing team, right? Or there are some organization who has ABM as an exclusive team as well, right? ABM as an exclusive team doesn't going to work anyway. All right. So ABM to be with field marketing or online marketing is the huge question. I would always say ABM has to be with online marketing, because the involvement of digital is more with respect to ABM than the field. Field is just one touch point, and you have other touch points of your ABM with the online marketing team, right? From identifying the tech stacks to running a display campaign and everything. All right. Now, addressing your question, like ABM for field marketing, right? Here is where you come into the picture, right? You categorize the kind of events that you're going to do. So as I mentioned, right, when you're going to do this networking lunch and networking dinner, like a CXO level of event, right? Identify like high value deals under your ABM program, right? And key decision makers from there, and invite them to be a part of your event, right? Focused event. How do you invite them? See, again, I will, I'll differentiate this. Most of the management says you are a field marketing person. You like, even if you say Anand Jain is there, I would never recommend Anand Jain to go and invite a person like from our decision, like a decision maker from our prospecting company. That doesn't work well. It will sound like a sales thing. Like say I'm inviting a person to come and attend an event, and I know they are our potential customer. Obviously, they will not be happy attending this event. Right? Here is where you need to use some of the CXO management companies, the professional CXO management companies who has been running a lot of CXO level events across the world, right? Use them, leverage them as a knowledge partner, coming up with a very good content, and invite them to be a part of the event. So that is how you have to work on the ABM aspect. Second is taking all these ABM accounts. Let's say you are running a masterclass, a virtual masterclass, or a virtual product demo session. Okay, a virtual product demo session that you are planning to run, right? You use these accounts, give it to an agency, right? And ask these agencies to invite as many contacts as possible from this. See, because as a part of ABM, right, what is this? You need to generate contacts from the accounts as well. That is also one of the objectives in ABM, right? So you take all these accounts and give it to an agency and ask the agencies to drive registration from these accounts, and you may pay them like $5 extra. There is no harm in that, right? Let's say if an agency is going to charge you, let's say for India, they approximately charge you like 1,000 rupees per registration, so like $15 per registration, right? You say, I will pay $20 per registration or $25 per registration if you invite a contact, like a valid contact from this particular accounts, right? That's going to work you a lot, right? Then let's say you run a product demo workshop. There are a couple of agencies who charges you based on the number of attendees, not based on the number of registrations.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a very interesting, like you run a product demo exclusively for one domain, let's say only for e-commerce, like only for HRTech or something, right? And you set a target that I need only like 40 attendees per this way. And you pay them 4 times. Let's say I pay you $15, right? I will pay you $60 per attendee. Get me as many attendees as possible. Like let them bring in like 40 attendees with 100 registrations, whatever it is, right? So that is how ABM works. Taking these accounts and going to an agency and driving registrations for you. Taking these accounts and going to an agency, driving them for your CXO level event, and identify like the RSVPs that you are getting, right? The job title that you are getting from the event organizers, right? The job title and the company name. Identify how many of those company names are matching your ABM and keeping a note of these things. That is how ABM works with respect to events.
Got it. So Paddy, I'll thank you so much for that answer.
What are the typical gaps you see between sales and marketing during focus events? I think Manuel is talking from experience. So
Yes.
Sorry guys, I'm trying. So
Okay.
sorry, I'm not on.
If it is manual, right? I should answer this way, right? The huge gap is the attribution. See, honestly speaking, right? Like all the field marketers, let's get into the reality, right? So when you're presenting your plan to the management, please set the expectations right? So it cannot be 100% driven pipeline or a driven, like, it has to be a combination of a driven plus influenced pipeline, right? So when you say that field marketing will contribute 300K pipeline for this, right? It has to be a combination of influence plus driven. At least you can have a value for influence, right? Naturally, let's say if the attribution is matches or something, you can put a like percentage, depends on the level of engagement, like 35% or 50%, but it has to be a combination of driven plus influential. Now, addressing Manuel's questions, right? What are the typical gaps you see between sales and the marketing folks? See, there shouldn't be a gap. Like it has to be like every event has to be a sales driven event. Let me be very honest with you, right? Definitely the commitment from sales is the most important thing. That's when you see conversions happening in real time. Honestly speaking, marketing driven events, like the moment you set up the meetings, the moment you bring in the relevant accounts, our commitment is almost done, right? So we have to be evaluated, let's say the percentage of engagement and relevant accounts. Let's say there are 100 accounts, key accounts for a city like Bangalore, right? How many key accounts and decision makers from these key accounts I brought in for the set of activities in 1 quarter, right? That's when my commitment ends, right? I brought in like 20 people for a CXO level event within the event, right? Like out of all the 20 are your relevant accounts, right? If they are not getting closed, marketers cannot do anything apart from that, right? From there, it is completely with the sales, right? So you need to thoroughly understand who the sales people want and what is the message that they want to pitch and what kind of things that has to happen, right? That is what. So today, the huge gap is marketing and sales get to interact only on the day of event, not before or not after, right? There has to be, multiple level of things that has to happen with sales, which is something like it's working out really well. Like I can see that BW, right? I had like a couple of meetings with the APAC sales team, and I got them about like X number of accounts, and I could see at least like 45% of them got converted to a demo and being converted to a demo, right? This kind of commitment can happen only if sales are there in the picture. So it has to be completely events, has to be a sales driven event.
Okay.
all
I
right.
think
See, some sales will request a certain template is fine, but there are things that sales has to send emails on their own, and there has to be some reporting. That is what lacking at the moment. That's a huge gap, right? So as I mentioned, I set up 15 meetings. What is the status of these 15 meetings after 15 days? That report has to come. That is something like which we need to framework and hand over it to sales and follow up with them very closely and get this report. Secondly, what kind of template do they require in order to send an email? Because most of these emails going to be a personalized email, right? So which is something like marketing cannot help at all. It is not scalable at all, right? So the sales has to be upfront and write their own emails and send it to them. If these two things are happening, then it will be very smooth and efficient.
Thanks, Paddy.
Yes, Bhavna. Someone is there.
Yeah. So Paddy, I have a logistics related question because this is something that I've not been able to solve for 15 years now. So
Okay.
when somebody reaches your booth, you're not able to collect all the data there. Some of the cards almost land into your sales guys' pockets and they never reach marketing for follow-up. How do you take care of that? Because I've been facing this for like 15 years. I've done almost 300 events till now. And this is one mystery I've not been able to solve.
See,
Bhavna, is it directed at Manuel or is it directed at Paddy?
Is it a generic question? Everybody is open to answer that. Because I face a lot of infighting between marketing and sales all the time. Well, marketing would say that we draw huge crowds to the booth. But sales says, no, I never had the relevant people there, you know. So, I mean, because most of the relevant cards are in their pocket and you're never able to chase them.
Let me answer this question, Bhavna. See, that's why I said, right, the gap is the attribution, right? Marketers have to be realistic, and at least for the field marketing per se, it has to be only influential like influenced revenue. See, the problem is I have also faced this, right? Definitely not with Manuel, but with other sales folks in the past, right? Okay. So what exactly happens is we have no control with the kind of people they are meeting at the day of event, right? They take the cards. Not many organizers share the database with us. Okay. Now, the reason is because it has to be sales driven. They are completely linked to the incentives, right? Let's be like human, right? If we also have incentives, we would do the same game here. As simple as that, right? They are linked to incentives. So they have their own target. So that's why the fight happens, right? So today what happens, most of the event organizers, right, providing this barcode app. So at least you can control the people like who are coming to your booth. Who are coming to your booth can be controlled. But your relationship with sales, especially field marketing relationship with sales team, has to be like really as brotherhood and as friendly as possible. They will share the complete leads. Like for example, at BW, I sent my APAC team to attend an event and thing, and they networked with 12 people who are all like literally decision makers, and they gave me all the 12 names, entire list of 12 names to me, saying these are the 12 people with whom we connected. Why is that happening? Why they were so confident in giving the names? Because they are pretty sure, right? For them, end of the day, the revenue matters and everything is going to be attributed to them, right? As simple as that. Because it was completely an inbound driven company, BW, right? But when we have the fight between sales attributed, marketing attributed, then it is obviously challenging. We have no control over it.
No, it normally happens at events like NRF and GITEX,
yes,
where you have a lot of people coming down to your booth. So we actually leveled it up by putting a show host there, you know, a booth host who used to scan this and then hand over the inquiry to the next level, whether it was sales or the pre-sales guy. And we were able to control it at both the entries, like if you used to have two facing booth. But still, I mean, marketing should never be divide or follow up, because we really need to have a view of what formed and what did not. So in India, I've seen a lot of marketers do that. People across the globe are still transparent. They share the data afterwards. But now I've started this new thing that I made a WhatsApp group. People will immediately take a pic, send the pic into the WhatsApp group, and it goes into my database in HubSpot immediately, so that I do not wait for anybody for even 24 hours to send a post-event email. So I start collecting data there and then.
Fantastic. See, this works. Again, you have no control if any of your team member network with anyone from the event, right? And if they are not sharing it with you, you have no control on that. So this can happen only if the management is very clear between the attribution for field marketing and sales.
And I was so happy with online events. They all gave me booth data. I was the first person who got the booth data from ET, brand equity, or anybody. And I had full view on who visited, who downloaded, which is very difficult at physical events. Thank you. Thank you.
I think Rahul had something to share on the e-gifting part. Rahul, are you around? Yeah. So you said that you have a playbook for to prevent e-gifting.
No, I was highlighting more from the perspective of from an ABM standpoint. If you have your tier-based prospects, like for example, tier 1 accounts, tier 2, tier 3. So one thing we recently did was we ran an internal event and we had a lot of tier 1, tier 2 accounts. So pre-event, we had a budget on accounts, how much we are supposed to send on certain accounts. And based on that, we had actually boxes sent across to these prospects pre-event, which included a registered registration card and all the other stuff, which is very personalized. So stuff like that, if you like put an effort into it, that like for example definitely helps. So that's what I was mentioning from an ABM standpoint. That can help. Like putting an effort from an account standpoint definitely helps. One question I had for Paddy was when 3 or 4 day events, we go with sales team, and on the first day everyone is on their game, but by day 3, that event fatigue sets in. So how do you manage the daily trudge of it? Like the physical event tends to be hectic from a scheduling standpoint. So how do you actually get your team to be on their game through the entire life cycle of an event?
Correct. See, this basically happens after 3rd day or 4th day, right? That's because of less interactions that they are having on the booth. Basically, like no interactions for them or no meetings for them or something like that, right? To keep this rate high, what you can probably do is, as I said, right, whomsoever you meet on day 1 and day 2, turning out to be like super interesting books for you, right? Invite them to join you for a lunch on day 3. Invite them to join. See, that way what happens, they will be motivated because they get to meet new people. Like they get to meet the same people for a longer discussions and stuff. So that is something that, and day 3 and day 4, what ideally you should do, right? Like you have to go on hunt with the other booths, basically, not for the swags, but on the partnership perspective and selling something to their perspective, right? Like BW can still be helpful for SaaS-based companies. Ideally, I'll send my team to, like pitch this product to them, because today all the SaaS are on websites, right? Like they can use it. So like this, if someone is not there, you can at least build some more networking over there for partnership per se. So the day 3 has to be for this. But I don't see any event having booth set up for all the 4 days, right? Like max 2-3 days only.
Yeah, 3 days. There are events like, for example, some semiconductor conferences that go for 4.
Correct. So the 3rd day is exclusively for you to explore new networking and things. So send your sales team like 1 by 1 to identify different companies who have set up the booth and see if you can sell your product to them. So that is also a way of, like securing new businesses.
Yeah.
That also.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
I just think Shobit's question, right? Like, see, I'm not a big fan of, it's not like I'm not a big fan of virtual conferences. I'm not a big fan of all the random virtual events, because I've personally been there. It is of no use. See, why do we go to events? Like there are speakers are really good, right? But you cannot interact with even a single speaker in any virtual event. But you have to run virtual event, but it has to be your own virtual event. I really appreciate the Mo Engage event, right? Like they do a virtual conference whom they invite like really big players to be there, and Clevertap do Reimagine Growth, like where they invite different marketers, right? Some of the channels for you to promote is your own email marketing. That is just to increase the registration. At the same time, like convert some of the cold leads to the next stage. Okay. Then social, honestly speaking, social paid is definitely not that worth it. Like, because you can't even get, like, it's not guaranteed for you to get a corporate email ID. It's just a random form, right? So you just have it just for the sake of having it, because today every management expect you be live on social. I don't know, but you just have to be live on social. But other potential things, internal employee. This is something like very interesting factor that I tried out. Okay. Say at Clevertap, for the first time, right, pandemic, we had zero marketing budget, like literally zero, not even $1. Okay. Not even 1 rupee. Okay. So what I did was like, I said like, that was a pandemic time as well. Like most of the employees were demotivated during the time because of the fire off and everything, right? So we came up with a concept of that encouraging employee. We asked employees, because most of them were with 5-6 years of experience, right? Like good industry connect. People who are driving maximum registrations for this program will definitely get a $150 Amazon gift voucher and $100 Amazon gift voucher. HR was ready to share this with from their budget. Okay. So it was very interesting aspect. We got 1,182 registrations just through CleverTap employees, right? And there was one person, she got around 300 registrations. How did she get this 300 registrations? She sent a message to her LinkedIn networks and she got us close to 289, 300 registrations, right? That is a very interesting aspect. It will not work out for you like every quarter unless or until you have a very attrition rate, but it will definitely work out well if you do it once in 3 quarters or once in a year. All right. Then comes to agency, right? There are really good agencies also. See, a lot of event organizers where, like for the survival, they entered into this business, right? They want to make use of their database. Someone like Callbox and all will say, you pay $5,000, we will give you that. They work on the dollars, right? Some people will work on the number of registrations. So ideally go with the people like who are working on the number of registrations. You will have a better control on them. Okay. See, here again, please set the expectations to the management, right? No agency will trust you in spite of whatever your relationship. They will mirror your landing page. They will build this landing page and then they drive the registration and they will upload it to you, like upload the database to you. They will register for them on your behalf, right? Here, what happens? Most of the organizations today are not using country field. They are trying to capture the country based on the IP address, right? That's when the challenge. So don't worry about these initial days. After a point, you can get their country field and you can re-upload it to the system. Okay, but leave it to the agency hand. Incentivize the agency for the number of attendees as well. So in a way, right? See, there are some agencies with whom I have seen like 45-50% attendee ratio, and which is really good, right? In the current environment. Okay, so agency is really good. Then the co-marketing activities. Use your partner channel. Ask your partner to drive registrations and maybe you give him a prominent positioning in your product. And also you can partner with brands who shares the common target audience, right? So ideally, if it has to be virtual, it can be only two. The virtual event has to be owned by you, or it has to be a networking virtual event like the GDS, e-tail wala, which is still a virtual event, but all the virtual events is nothing but the meetings. Each and every meeting will last for 40 minutes and you will have a guaranteed secured 10 meetings or 14 meetings. That is the way it is good. Apart from that, whatever is the virtual event, if you're participating, it will just build your database. That is really good for like a company with less than 1 million ARR who has very less database, right? They can participate and try to build their database, but it won't result anything for you.
So in an attempt to make this meeting controversial, do you think Hubilo, Hopin and Airmeet are overvalued?
See, I would really appreciate a platform that helps the hybrid event. I know there are like...
oh, definitely. More than happy to give the platform for this next time onwards.
Yeah,
See,
totally. We are scrapping our heads. How do we like? Kiska Zoom lagega, kiska Gmeet lagega?
Don't worry. We'll get the platform out for this. No problem. And then Paddy cannot say that virtual events only drive registrations.
I just said, see, it's experiencing. Like, if I'm not wrong, Zedil, I understood it is catering towards hybrid, basically. That is the most, interesting.
Zedil I didn't name because it's a different offering.
You did name Zedil. What are you saying? Sorry? You just named Zedil. What are you saying?
Paddy named. I named Hopin.
I said that.
Like, I was very intentional.
You said Zedil, Hopin and Airmeet.
Recording of the video.
Hopin and Airmeet. I know my target audience. None of my friends.
It is not related to the platform, right? It is related to the people attending the event.
Yeah.
Right. That's when the challenge is. The platform is very fancy. They win a lot of stuff. But people are not coming and attending the event. That's when it becomes, right. So organizers need to think how to make use of the platform effectively in a way to increase the people, like the meetings are happening, which is what these organizations are doing. They are leveraging the same platform, right? But they are promising meetings through that, and which is eventually happening, which is not in the case of other stuff, right? So you go for virtual event, but you run a virtual boardroom within that event, right? You run focus group discussions. Let it be only 6 people. You invite 6 senior decision makers from your targeting companies and take that as a deliverable, and you engage within the 6 people, and then, like you network with them. So that is a very good outcome, right? So the platform has to support all these things. The platform cannot be a simple single screen for the panel discussion and everything, right? See, today what I could see, there are organizers who are using these virtual platforms. They are creating 8 boardrooms at a time, right? 8 different companies engaging with 48 people in parallel, right? That is a fantastic. So you definitely need a platform to experience all these things, which is something like I noticed at Zoodle very recently while I was evaluating it. But yeah, but when it comes to Airmeet and all, we tried it in the initial days.
Paddy, what is the mix of sales versus marketing folks that you would ideally want to take to an event?
See, if we have like 4 passes, right? 3 has to be sales and 1 marketing. That's it.
What does the marketing person do at the event?
Execution and make sure like whatever the commitment is happening on time. See, honestly, like let's say I'm scheduling 20 meetings for the sales, right? Sales won't go and identify, right? Like marketing makes sure these are all the things happening and support the sales with relevant coordinators. Like basically a coordination job, like quickly, connect with the product marketing team and get the relevant collaterals if they need any case study on the fly or something like this. Make sure the booth setup is done.
Okay.
All this.
Who ensures that one-on-ones happen, although they're booked?
Marketing.
Yeah, so that's the primary responsibility for the marketing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Follow up.
Nice.
Would your answer change if you have, say, 10 passes, or would the ratio still be the same?
10 passes, honestly, no one is giving at the moment. If someone is giving 10 passes, you rather skip that event.
No, I have for AdTech.
No, we have
next
great
one.
events giving us more passes for bigger sponsorship budgets.
So send as many sales as possible. As simple as that.
Okay.
That will be really helpful.
Paddy, wouldn't you also recommend getting customers if you get passes? So many passes.
The customers will be there. I thought like for the booth only. See, you should definitely, like if you are getting more passes, right? Like exhibitor passes, like people coming and experience the event and all, you have to give more for like 1 or 2 for the customers and more for your prospects. Basically, run an outbound campaign to prospects and people and invite them, right? So they will definitely come and meet you at the booth. The quality.
So let us make a formula out of it, right? Like say, for example, if I have 10 passes, 2 should be customers, maybe say 4 should be prospects, and the other 4 should be, out of those 4, 3 sales guys and 1 marketer. Is that the correct ratio?
Correct.
I would also want to add SDRs if given an opportunity.
Why do you forget?
Well, you have 3 passes, take SDRs or take founders. Like we don't care. Sales guys have 3 4 passes. So I wanted to make a formula out of it so that it helps people. So if you have 10 passes, how do you distribute them? Like customer, prospect, sales guys, and market.
Or Paddy, in a way, what is the ratio you want for every 5 sales guys, 1 SDR, 1 marketer? What is that formula? Like, I mean, what is that ratio would you recommend? If for every 5 salesperson traveling, there should be 1 SDR, 2 SDR, or 1 marketer.
Right. See, like let's say if you have 10 passes, right? 3 definitely have to be sales because that's when the larger goal will be there, right? Then 1 definitely will go from marketing for the execution process. All right. Then SDRs is something like not many organizations, like only very few startups are recently having like these SDRs and like who will directly. So ideally it can be either SDR or the person who is directly following up with other booth visits, basically. Like whatever sales is dropping off, someone has to pick it up, right? That has to be the SDRs if it is in case. Some companies, it's just the email marketing team who is directly prospecting them, right? So in that case, there's no point. That's why I missed the SDR.
Not every company has the liberty to have an email marketing team.
Correct. So some places it directly marketing team who is nurturing all these leads. If SDR is the one who is going to build these conversations, we can definitely take 1 SDR over there. And we should ideally have like minimum 4 prospects and 1 or 2 customers, or 1 customer and 1 partner, basically.
I think we have last 3 minutes on the call. I think there was one question that was in the sheet and I was just going through it. So we'll close at that. Is when you have multiple goals for an event, which is getting registrations, attendance, post-event conversion, demo booking or sign up, what is that one goal that you prioritize, or how do you prioritize these multiple goals as a funnel, or do you just focus on one thing and then everything falls into place?
Yes, you put it in an OR funnel, right? So basically, we are helping the regional marketing directors to meet their pipeline, right? So you put it in the OR funnel. Now, let's say leads. How many leads are we bringing into the system? And make sure that it is of ICP, right? What percentage of these leads are the ICP, right? If that condition is met, then you are sorted. Or the next condition is how many of them requested for a demo, right? Like a meeting. So let's before a demo, like how many of them requested for a meeting, quick catch up with the sales team or something, right? And again, what is the ICP of them? Or how many of them gone through the demo? Or how many of them converted to be an opportunity? Or how many of the pipeline bit? or how many conversion happen, right? Ideally, let's say you were expecting to get like 200 leads, right? And generate about like a $20,000 revenue, right? But you got only 100 leads, but you get $20,000 revenue, right? Still you are sorted, like your investment to return is there. So we should ideally aim for 0.6x to 0.7x return from each and every event, so that it serves as a long term, right? Basically.
Right.
So this has to be in OR. So that's how you prioritize. So, but from the marketing perspective, the primary thing is how many meetings and how many quality leads brought into the system. That should be the primary goal for marketing.
Got it. Now, with that, I think we have had a very valuable 90 minutes with you, Paddy.